Hello, friends of Maine's breweries, wineries, and distilleries, and all of the other great businesses that surround and support the producers of craft alcohol. Welcome to another virtual tour presented by the Maine Brew Bus. My name is Don Littlefield. I am once again your guide today, and this is episode 20 of our virtual tour series. This one's kind of fun, and this actually does something a little bit different than what we've done before. This time, we'll be talking with Molly Friedland. Molly is from Fogtown Brewing Company in Ellsworth, Maine. And Molly is a brewer there, as well as the cellar. She manages the cellar. So we're going to find out a little bit more. This is a touch more on the operations side, but is also going to be talking about some of the things that their brewery has done to change their model and still get beer out to the public. So we'll be speaking with Molly in just a moment. Behind the scenes here is Greg Klein, once again producing this show. So thanks to Greg for taking care of us today. Let's get Molly connected. Well, hi there, Molly.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello. It's going very well. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, happy Tuesday to you. So this is Molly Friedland. She's from Fogtown Brewing Company in Ellsworth, Maine. I was just saying that this one's a touch different because you're a brewer and a cellar manager, and you get your elbows deep in the brewing side. But let's give a little background to Fogtown, and this is also one of the ones, Molly, and I appreciate that you had submitted a request, like a form on our website. So here's what she had said originally, or what she said in the request. With our taproom closed and no real need for beer and kegs, we've been lucky to use our in-house cask canning machine to turn most of our kegged beer into canned beer, which is fantastic. Able to run our canning operations with as little as 2 employees, and you've limited the amount of employees you have in the brewery. You've opened a corner store with curbside pickup, as well as offering distance purchases of the products. There are free delivery options within 20-mile radius of the brewery and filling tons of orders. You're missing your community, which I understand. That's a really community-oriented brewery and tap room. But you're hosting a lot of virtual events. You're doing live trivia and music broadcasts over the internet, and you've donated beer to your local community heroes. So you're checking off all the boxes there of a fantastic brewery, and it's a pleasure to talk to you about that.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's start with, do you have anything in your glass that you're enjoying at the moment?
Actually, let's see what I can find. We just did a full day's canning run of our seaweed saison to celebrate Seaweed Week.
Is this Seaweed Week? I didn't even know.
It is.
Woohoo! Yay,
Pretty
seaweed.
sure. It's till the end of the week. Go grab one of those. Yeah, so this is Scupper. This is our seaweed saison made with a French saison yeast.
All right.
Dulse and kelp go into the kettle.
Amazing.
It's quite nice, perfect balance of tart and it's not as briny as it might sound. It smells a lot more like seaweed while it's brewing, but the finished product is quite nice.
Cheers. And while you're enjoying that, I'm enjoying from your neighbor up the road in Orono. This is Altogether, which is was started by Other Half in New York State. But many breweries, hundreds of breweries around the country and around the world have signed on to this. So they all got one recipe and they did their own run of it, their own interpretation of it. So this is Orono Brewing Company's Altogether beer, and the proceeds of this beer help hospitality professionals who have their jobs have been affected as a result of that. So
we've also got a batch brewing or fermenting currently.
Fantastic. So that worked pretty well.
Yeah. It's
right.
Shaping up to be delicious and very hoppy.
Awesome. Well, cheers to you. Before I have you tell the backstory of Fogtown, let's say hi to a bunch of people that have joined us right away. Hardshore Distilling, Stroudwater Distilling, both in Portland. Kennebunk Brewing Company down in Kennebunkport. Brewvana are folks that run brewery tours in Portland, Oregon. The Maine Culinarian, who's very excited to learn about Maine Seafood Week, which is great. Banded Ron, one of the partners at Banded Brewing in Biddeford. And my friend Jillian Nadeau, Jillian runs Uncorked New Brunswick tours, and she said that she's doing virtual tours, and she had a seaweed beer from a brewery called Trailway on Saturday. So that's awesome.
Cool.
Cool. So let's start at the beginning. How did Fogtown Brewing Company come to be?
It's a great question.
That's what I'm here for.
Two good friends of mine and of each other's, Ian Heisey and John Stein, went to college together in Colorado. And Ian is from around this part of Maine and sort of brought a lot of good energy from the New England vibe to college in Colorado. John got hooked. This is obviously my interpretation of their story. And yeah, John moved here. He and Ian started dreaming up a business that looked a lot like a brewery, but was also very community-oriented, very much a platform for music and other community-focused events. And then it's sort of, it takes a couple years to get things really moving. And they found a wonderful spot here in Ellsworth. It's an old distributing sort of warehouse, so it's got a big garage door. We are lucky enough to have some fabulous neighbors upstairs. There is a glass blowing studio, and we're sort of off of the main drag in Ellsworth, just by a couple blocks. So we're nestled in a sweet little community neighborhood, and we've got a nice garden space. So Ian and John are still very much part of the business. John is the head brewer and manages all sorts of very important business things as he is working in his little computer world right now. Ian does a lot of the distribution stuff. And normally our team is 8 strong. I think it's 8 now. We've got some stellar bartenders, a couple guys who work in the cellar with myself. And let's see, today we had one other person here with me operating the cannon. So
wow, yeah. So very flexible crew. I've doing a little research. Your name popped up at various times as a bartender and as a brewer and as a cellar manager. And it sounds like you've kind of worked your way through that system. And it sounds like you actually run the whole shop there. You handle some of the trivia. You do some of the other stuff too. So is that true?
Yeah. Well, I like to say flexible people can't get bent out of shape. So,
I like that.
And I'm actually a horticulturalist. That's my background.
Fascinating.
So my job up here had been very seasonal. So I was looking for some winter work, and John and Ian were friends of mine, are friends of mine. So I hopped in as a bartender to sort of carry me through the winter. And then John was sort of sneaky and being like, "Why don't you come back and see what I'm doing? What do you think this is? Why don't you give me a hand?" And then just eventually started teaching me all the ways of the brewery. So
that's
it's been
fun.
A really fun evolution for me. I'm super grateful to be part of this.
It's like you seem smart. You seem like you like to see how things. You've got the horticultural background. You like to see how things grow. The science of it, I'm sure, is fascinating. So. We'll just convince you it's your idea. I like it.
Yeah, that's a very John Stein move.
Now, of course, millions of people a year pass through Ellsworth, but other folks may not know that they've passed through Ellsworth. So can it position where Ellsworth is in relation to one of Maine's largest draws, and then also where the name Fogtown comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are basically the town before you get onto Mountain Desert Island, where Acadia National Park, Bar Harbor, all of those sort of very well-known down East Maine spots are. And I like to think that Ellsworth is growing in its popularity as its own tourist destination. We've got some stellar restaurants, more and more coming every year. And Ellsworth has got a lot to offer, but you can't really deny the amazingness that is Acadia National Park. And I lived in Bar Harbor for many years, and it's a really quaint, nice little town. So, what was the second part of the question?
Fogtown. So there's a reason why
yes.
the name Fogtown is stuck.
Well, it's I think originally it came from a Shel Silverstein poem, but it's sort of whatever you want it to be. Like it's sometimes foggy here. It's not the foggiest town in the world, but yeah.
Yeah. That's good enough. Yeah, I first heard it. I'm like, oh yeah, the rock-bound coast of Maine, absolutely. Then I was like, wait, it's Ellsworth, so it's not well, it's really close. It's close enough. So I like the interpretation of it for sure. So when the brewery first opened, and I've been there. I was there just about a year ago, and I agree. Yeah, you come off of kind of the main route, not too far, a block or two. You're in what seems like a residential section. You turn the corner, you see that building that you're in, and like you said, there's artistic parts to it. There's different things happening. And then you see this brewery that's down on the ground level, kind of like a daylight basement of sorts. And you walk in there, and it's a really cool vibe. So tell me about your customers, like what when they are able to visit. What do they say when they come through the door, and what do they think of your beer?
Well, I hope that everyone loves all of our beer, but a lot of feedback that we get is that we have like a really diverse offering. We don't stick to one style. We love experimenting with random things like herbs. Recently, we got some like Fear lime leaf powder to add to. We have a Thai hot beer, just sort of an herbal ale, and some chili peppers in there. Yeah, I think a lot of people just love the community aspect because Ellsworth for so long was sort of lacking a space such as this that brings people sort of from all age categories into one space and has something to offer to everyone, whether it's the live music that's happening and not just on weekends. Like Tuesday, we have an old time jam sesh with our employee Matthias, who I think is currently watching. Hello, Matthias.
Hello, Matthias.
Yeah, and then, depending on the season, we often have larger live music events on the weekend. Like I said, we have a really awesome garden that sort of it's a growing place for us to, it grows every year. We've got some picnic benches out there, and it's just a nice, chill place to be. We've got an awesome food truck called Eat at Joe's, which is comes with his own, he is his own character. Joe is a very special guy and has become sort of a staple in our community for us Fogtown employees and all of the community. So he's great, and his mission, he focuses really on sourcing all of his food, whether it's the buns for his burgers, the meat for his burgers, the lettuce, all things that he can, he sources as locally as possible. So much so that he's driving to the farms on Saturday morning to pick up the lettuce and the ground beef. So it sort of fits into our holistic mission of creating a solid space for our community.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that mission, because I think anybody who's hearing about Fogtown for the first time is going, wait, did she say, Thai chilies? Did she say, kefir lime? Did she say certain things? So tell me a little bit about the thoughts that go behind the beers, because they are not, they're very experimental. They're very diverse, and they're delicious. So tell me a little bit more about that process.
Sure. Yeah, so officially we opened in 2018, and as many small business owners know, especially in the brew industry, consistency is important, especially as you age as a business. So I think a lot of that experimental attitude is still very much present, but as we're aging as a business, we're definitely focusing on creating quality control, quality assurance, and moving towards consistency. So we're still super jazzed about experimenting, but we have definitely been honing in our recipes and just making them a little bit more consistent. But like I said before, we don't stick to one style. We definitely have a sessionable IPA. We've got a juicy double IPA. We've got a nice chocolatey stout.
Yeah.
One of our best sellers, specifically in the spring and fall and winter, is our it's a porter. It's a toasted coconut milk porter, Cocodrillo, which is a super big seller. So we use a lot of the feedback that our customers are telling our bartenders, and we try to always have something that everybody likes, especially something light, because that's something we get a lot. So we have sort of like a seasonal flow with our lagers. Later this week, we'll be making our summer lager, and we've got a delicious darker winter lager. But yeah, and for example, the scupper, the seaweed saison is, we can get seaweed from a wonderful company just down the road, and that they're harvesting it locally, and so we try to make those community relationships benefit everyone, including our beer.
And that's a real strength of your company. And I would love if you're able to flip the camera lens around and show people it's not a huge facility, so we're not going to go too far. But if you're able to show them a little bit and ignore if there's any mess or boxes or whatever. Obviously, the tap room is not open, but it's a really cool spot. So, able to show us around a little bit?
I am. I'm actually watching a police officer sort of investigate my car that I parked outside. So hold on 1 second.
Well, this could get fun. You need to put me down. I could pad. You never know what's going to happen on these live virtual tours. Sometimes you get some unexpected news. Maybe you get some updates on beers, and sometimes the local police might be investigating your personal vehicle. So
I guess they're on.
Hang on, everybody.
Sorry about that.
We'll get Molly back here. It's fine.
All right. I got John on the case. So I was just sitting in our corner store. This is from the inside. This is our corner store. We've got usually this fridge is in our tap room and houses our cans for sale. So customers come up. There's like an X on the ground outside. There's a barrel that we can place their order, and they can order online ahead of time and pay with a credit card. We're selling some merch. We've got some awesome T-shirts. We've got some hats.
Molly, what is that space normally? Is that like a little office space, or?
Yes. Yeah, this is our graphics office. And she's relocated. She's relocated.
And so anybody who might be watching or listening on a podcast later who can't see this, what we're seeing is a little side office that has been repurposed into a corner store because of the window that allows the product or any merchandise to be delivered directly to the consumer through that window. They don't even have to come in the building. It's right there in what would normally be kind of a roped off outside area. So it's something we've seen a couple of other breweries do, and I've seen one restaurant in Portland basically remove their entire deck temporarily just to allow access to a window. So I think that's a really smart idea.
Yeah, it's worked really well for us. We've had to sort of hone our hours. So right now we're just open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Sure.
From 3 to 7. So.
All right. Show us a little bit more.
So moving right along, perhaps you saw Sarah Dog.
I did see Sarah.
That's John's dog. Yeah, so like you said, it's a little bit messy right now. This is our tap room.
Yeah, that's understandable. A lot going on.
Yeah, this is the big garage door I was telling you about. We just received some cans, a couple pallet of cans. These are 12-ounce cans. We're going to start diversifying our sort of can options.
Interesting. Very good.
Yep, so this is our bar.
That's right where I sat when I visited, right there in the corner. I had a beer with John Hill of Atlantic Brewing Company while I was there. And that's a really comfortable bar for anybody who's just listening. Kind of wood features. It's not huge, but it's a very comfortable bar. And you get direct access. The beers are poured right through the walk-in, basically, but it's all covered up like with wood framing, and it's a very attractive look. And then also when I was there were people that were getting ready to set up for some live music. So like we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of community aspects to what happens in the tasting room. You can see anybody who's watching now is like, there's a drum set in the corner. yes, there is.
Yeah, it used to live up there. With our disco ball, but it has been down and sort of putzed around on recently. This area where this orange cart is our stage, our live music. When it's too cold to have that garage door open, they just sort of huddle over here and play.
Exactly.
The acoustics are great.
Now, the brew side it's not a massively large setup, but it's certainly functional. So let's take a look at that. So she's just walking back towards past the bar to where the fermenters are and where the brew system is.
Yeah. So we just started chipping away at this pallet of cans.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our 15-barrel lager tank here. Her name is Lucy.
That's Lucy. Okay, got it.
See? Pig progress. Got a bunch of different stuff going on. We've got one of our sort of flagship stouts in this one. The All Together is in the end, next to Sarah Dog.
Sarah.
We've got some kegs, storage, grain storage, our kettle. This is sort of the brew corner. Here's our manifold, mash tun. Random barrels everywhere. Thanks, Matthias.
Thanks, Matthias. He's still watching, so you can make your way back towards the front because actually if you're on the Wi-Fi, the signal kind of dropped in and out there. But we're basically it's all right. We got the gist of it. So it's a pretty functional brew space. I'm sure you find that fairly comfortable to work in back there.
Yes, I'm known for constantly dragging around anti-fatigue mats with me everywhere I stand all day. So I'm mostly comfortable.
Well, it's better than hunched over in a field somewhere, taking care of plants, I suppose.
Pros and cons of both, for sure.
Let's find out a little bit more about you. So I guess we learned how you got to the brewing operations, but what are some other things you've done in your background?
Geez, let's see. I was in the service industry for a very long time. My mom owned a catering company as a kid, so I grew up around amazing food and really talented chefs. So that's always sort of been a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I say that I have a Jack Daniels family, a very large family, and when we get together, we drink a lot of Jack Daniels. It was my grandfather's drink of choice. So I definitely have a love for brown liquor, but it does not love me as much. So beer is a perfect happy medium. I lived in Asheville. I went to college in Asheville, North Carolina. So
all right,
definitely,
big beer town.
Yeah, definitely started my beer affinity down there. On my 21st birthday, we went on a little pub crawl in the South Slope. So I feel pretty privileged, pretty spoiled to have that as my beer upbringing.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. So it's a super fun place to visit, especially these days, knowing a little bit more about beer and having sort of a greater respect for the makers of it.
Well, that's... so a lot of background. I expected that there was restaurant or catering in there somewhere because of, I think that's really helpful for people that have that sort of creative side when they're talking about ingredients and making beer out of it. You got to think like a chef. You got to think about the final product before you can start at the beginning. It's a mise en place for beer. So we want to say hi to a bunch more people who have joined us. El Dill has stopped by. Todrico Creative, which is a graphic design shop here in Portland that does a lot of work with breweries and other businesses. Beers with Rick. Hello, Rick. Clara Besk, Big Bald Baggins, Chris Bucha, Whitney Roy, Gaylord 5266, and Whit D. Kent have all joined. So they're here listening to this virtual tour with Molly Friedland from Fogtown Brewing in Ellsworth. My name is Don Littlefield, and this is presented by the Maine Brew Bus. So let's talk about some of the changes that have come about in the past 6 weeks. And, we just are getting, word this afternoon about some of the continuation of orders from our state. So it looks like some of this is going to continue for 4 to 8 or possibly longer weeks. So let's talk about how this is going to go, how this has gone for the customers. How are they able to get your beer in a safe and reasonable manner?
Yeah, it's definitely been a steep learning curve for all of us.
Great.
We desperately miss our in-person interactions for sure, and our tap room, as you can see, is quite lonely. But yeah, our website, fogtownbrewing.com,
That's right.
has all of our offerings. So you can place an order to come pick up at their corner store during our open hours, which are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 to 7. And you can also place an order online for free delivery if you are like within the general region.
Roughly 20 miles or so, and roughly, and there's a little bit of they'd like to see a higher limit there, so that's a good time to get a case or two.
Yeah, and I think most Mainers know that 20 miles could be quite far.
That's right.
Time, but we're happy to get you that beer. So right now we're just offering our cans, and we've been, like I said earlier, lucky enough to convert a lot of our keg beer into cans. So we've been sort of keeping our inventory up and able to meet those demands. We have definitely had to cut back on our brew schedule.
Yep.
Like most tourist and seasonal businesses, this would be our, sort of major ramping up time.
Yeah, you'd be ramping right up right now, sure.
Would have been for the past month, exactly. So it's been an interesting transition in that vein as well. We're definitely still brewing, and we just got a big grain order in, and we'll keep making the beer.
Cans to fill.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how flexible the company was. As you mentioned, you had beer that had been kegged, but you're able to convert that into canned beer. And I think some larger breweries wouldn't have been able to do that. So is that because of the flexibility of the small shop that you have there?
Yeah, do you mean like most people would need to hold on to those kegs for wholesale orders, or?
No, I guess I mean that it could be daunting. If you're talking hundreds of kegs, that could be daunting. Sure. You're a smaller shop, so, it could have been hundreds. I don't really know. So just kind of exploring a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we made a really wise investment in getting our own cask canning system last spring, I think. Feels like 4 years ago, but it was
I know, right?
one year ago. So yeah, we've been able to sort of hone in those systems of like running 25 psi from the keg to the canner and working on foam levels and whatnot. We have 3 cold spaces where we keep kegs, so it's like a constant shuffle of 6 stalls, and we're mostly canning from half barrels. But it's we are definitely coming out of winter still, and so without that ramping up, our tapper or our coolers have not been like so crazy that you can't get in and can't get kegs out. So we've definitely been lucky in that way, that we're just sort of moving through the inventory that we have. It took us a couple weeks to realize that was going to be a good move, but since then it's been pretty streamlined. And drinking this scupper from a keg to a can tastes just like all the other scuppers. So that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. If you missed it earlier, scupper is a seaweed saison, which is just an example of the diversity of the beer that you'll find at Fogtown Brewing in Ellsworth. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Let's talk about the community. I know the community means a lot to you guys. Having people in that tap room is something you're missing, but you're able to reach beyond your tap room, and you're doing some things in a virtual sense. So tell me how that's been going.
Yeah, it's been going really well. We've had a lot of great feedback. I started hosting trivia in our tap room last winter as just a way of getting people into the tap room when it's like -10 and snowing. Right. Nobody really wants to leave the house, but maybe you could be incentivized by trivia. So that went really well. We did that again this winter in the tap room, and in this weird pandemic era, we were just sort of brainstorming of how we can get that sense of community and connectivity through virtual means. So we've been using Zoom and doing trivia every 2 weeks.
Nice.
Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. And we've got some great response. I think the first trivia night had 22 participants.
Wow.
And it's also really cool because I had friends from Colorado tune in and Baltimore, and so it's people that wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to come to our tap room can tune in virtually. We've been definitely getting a lot of good feedback on Facebook and our Instagram posts, which is always exciting for us. And definitely a fun little reprieve in the middle of the day to sort of have a photo shoot with some beer or our delivery bus or whatever it is. It's always good to have a laugh.
Right. Well, I think it's great that you're able to connect. We talked to a brewery last week they have a mug club, and they said, hey, we're going to do things for our mug club. So once a week they're doing a mug club social, and it doesn't have to be much. Half an hour of doing a live music performance, or just doing a behind the scenes, or participating in a pilot brew. Like, those are things that breweries can easily do. We do have a question from T Lewis_NH. The question is, does Fogtown distribute around the state?
We do, yes. We are in southern Maine. Our cans are for sale. I don't have a list of all the stores where we're for sale, but we definitely we're self-distributed.
Yep.
And so we try to hit all the good spots. We're in Camden, Rockland area, all through the mid-coast, down east, and in Portland.
And because they have their own canning system, that allows them, again, a lot of flexibility. They can, when the beer is ready, they can get it out on a schedule that makes sense for them, not wait every 3 or 4 weeks for another company to come in. So that's really helpful. Let's say hi to a few more folks. Hannah Pingree, that's a name I know. Hello, Hannah. Thanks for joining. Adam Spittle, NY.
Spittelny.
We know him, Spittelny.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for watching. Matthias apologized for leaving the brew house kind of a mess. Caitlin Beekle and my friend Mike Dixon, who is a partner at the Great Lost Bear in Portland, Maine, and look forward to speaking to him on one of these at sometime soon. So let's now pivot a little bit and talk about the people, your guests, your customers, your loyal people. How are they supporting you? What are some of the things you've heard from them during this time period?
Yeah, I think that many of our most loyal customers are asking how they can support us, which is so validating. And that, mostly looks like coming down to the corner store when we're open, buying a case of beer, or having a couple cases delivered to their house. We've been selling some hats and sweatshirts and gift cards. So it's been really awesome to see the community show up for us in that way. There's been a couple awesome partnerships that wouldn't normally have happened, like Bar Harbor Catering Company, who is now offering a sort of virtual online market where they're selling our beer as well, and having sort of like a curbside pickup for Friday fried chicken. So we've been hearing from folks that they've been enjoying having access to our beer through different venues. There's definitely a couple restaurants that usually carry our beer that are now offering takeout in a multitude of ways, and are also offering beer takeaway. Which is sort of a sweet thing to be able to do right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's great to be in and around the brewery on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when the corner store is open, because you do get to see some familiar faces, and really just makes you realize how much we take for granted in normal times of being able to connect and see each other and not worry about the 6 feet. And so it's been an interesting transition, but it's been great. I mean, one of our regulars actually last Friday pulled in and bought a case of beer, and then was like, do you guys mind if I have my last conference call in my car, sitting in your parking lot, having a beer? And then before his conference call was even over, he came back and bought another 4-pack, not because he drank it all, but because he just decided he needed a different flavor.
He really needed to just support a little bit more. That's all it was.
Exactly. Case
That's
of
great.
Fridays.
I love it. Conference calls in the parking lot, with approval, of course. We've got just a few more minutes left with Molly Friedland from Fogtown Brewing. If you do have a question or a comment or want to send some love to Fogtown, you can do that in the comments section right down at the bottom of the screen. I've got a few more folks who have joined us. T San Antonio, singing Kate 88. and Salachi. Adam gave us a little wave, so that's Adam, as you, Spitalny, graphic designer. He lives down in Brooklyn. He runs a branding studio called Frank. Check him out. Does he do some work with Fogtown?
He has definitely done some consulting with us and is part of our Fogtown family.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So if you do have any, as I said, questions or comments, we just got a couple minutes left. So my question is actually because we don't often get to talk to a lot of female brewers, and it's something that we love doing. So how are you doing? How are you enjoying being in this industry and being more hands-on than just being a bartender? And what's the most interesting thing that you have learned about this process?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to the Pink Boots Society. I sort of got linked up with them serendipitously as we hosted a Pink Boots brew 2 years ago before I really started getting deep into the brew process. So I got to see the just like amazing community of women that are in this industry. And I think knowing them while I got into this interesting career path has been really empowering and inspiring, and utilizing their resources. I mean, it's really wonderful and it's fun. So yeah, like we talked about earlier with my background in horticulture and catering, I love systems, I love recipes, I love creating, I love watching things grow and bloom. So it's been definitely a challenge and a blessing to have fallen into the position that I'm in. I'm very grateful for John and Ian and this community and being in Ellsworth. So,
yay!
Yay.
Well, we're happy that you're there and you're doing what you're doing. And Pink Boots Society is a society of not just women brewers, but women that are in the industry that are supporting the brewing as a whole. And it's a very active and strong chapter here in Maine. We just posted the link. It's pinkbootsociety.com if you want to learn a little bit more about what they're doing here. And there's a variety of beer that was brewed around the state for either International Women's Day or to support Pink Boots Society of Maine. They got kind of caught up in all of this. In other words, a lot of release parties were supposed to happen in mid-March. That didn't happen, but that beer is available, and a lot of different breweries have collaboration brews available now. So seek them out; they're fantastic. I've had a bunch, and you should definitely support and check out Pink Boots Society of Maine. I'll give you the final moment after I say a couple of things. The final moment, just so you're prepared, you can focus on this. Ready? Okay. The pitch is to everybody who's watching, and everybody's going to watch later through YouTube or podcast, why they should come and visit Fogtown to support you. So you can work on that while I'm saying that. And just a clarification, it's pinkbootsociety.org, not .com. So you get that correct. You've been watching a virtual tour from the Maine Brew Bus, and this is Molly Friedland. She's fantastic, and this is actually the first time I've met her, as far as I know. So this is kind of fun. She's from Fogtown Brewing Company in Ellsworth, Maine. You can learn more about them at fogtownbrewing.com. As we mentioned, if you happen to live in the local area, they're doing some free delivery, but they also have the curbside pickup at the corner store. You can order online. They'd probably prefer that, but they can also handle if you just show up during their hours of operation, which are currently kind of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think you said. So check that on the social media before, just in case it changes. They're also donating some money towards local organizations for some of those purchases, so check that out because that's a great thing to do. The Maine Brew Bus virtual tours are supported by carhopme.com, which is a alcohol delivery service. They don't currently deliver to Ellsworth, but they're expanding their profile all around the state. And I know one of the target areas is the Bangor, Brewer, Orono area. So maybe before long, you'll be able to get some products direct from Fogtown. But because CarHop also works with a lot of retail stores, you may find Fogtown products available for delivery to your home. And check them out at carhopme.com. Use BrewBus as the promo code to save 50% off the delivery fee, which is great. My thanks to Molly and to Fogtown, and also to Greg Klein from our team who's been producing behind the scenes. And now, without further ado, I'll give you the last minute. Molly, why should people come and seek Fogtown and drink your beer?
Well, we are just a special place for many, many different reasons. We're very family oriented. You can bring your children, you can bring your dogs, you can bring your grandparents, you can bring whoever you want as long as they are nice and enjoy good beer. I think that what makes us different is that we are not in southern Maine. That's a big one, but also we're still a growing business and we're always open for feedback. So if you happen to be sitting at the bar and you said something like, wow, I really wish that you guys had like a berry wheat beer, like you might see a berry wheat beer from Fogtown in 6 months from now. You
Right.
just never know. We're into sort of that growth mentality of giving the people what they want and also keeping our system sustainable for us and our community. And we're not just a brewery, we are a live music venue, we are a garden, we are a family. So
It's the holistic approach. They're a brewery that are run by great people. They support great people, and they're trying to grow the community so that more people will come and be part of that. So that's great. And so we've got at least one person, it's @TLewis_NH, who says, I'll be sure to keep an eye out for Fogtown in the future. And that's exactly why we do this. We're trying to support our great alcohol-producing industry here in Maine so that people know that they are active, they're alive, they're making product, and they want to get it to you just in new ways. That's all they're trying to do. This has been great. And I hope that you've enjoyed it. Molly, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. It's been fun.
yeah, thanks so much, Don.
Absolutely. If you've enjoyed this conversation with Molly, you can support the Maine Brew Bus with a tip in the virtual tip bucket. It's on our website at www.themainbrewbus.com. And just go to the virtual tours page. You can say, hey, I really enjoyed this conversation, and throw a tip in the bucket. It's never expected. It's always appreciated. It helps keep us going. With that, I thank you very much. Thanks to Greg Klein behind the scenes. And until next time, be well.
Cheers.
Drink local. Cheers. Thanks, Molly. See you soon.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Cheers.